Friday. Let us be together in a moment of silence. Breathe out all the tension of the world and breathe in the freshness of God. Amen. What better way to begin fall, this Startup Sunday, than to offer the invitation, me to you and all of us to each other, won't you be my neighbor? These words that Fred Rogers took the great commandment, love one another, turned it into an invitation. In the words of the unforgettable Fred Rogers, he said, it's an invitation. It is an invitation to help somebody know they are loved and capable of loving. Won't you be my neighbor? So, for the next 3 Sundays, the focus is going to be on love of neighbor. This is part of our 3-part series of the great loves of our United Church of Christ. We did 3 weeks on the love of creation. Reverend Eleanor McCormick preached wonderful sermons on love of creation. This 3 weeks, the love of neighbor, and then finally, the love of children. Love of neighbor. Won't you be my neighbor? Friends, what could be more urgent? What message could be more important than this time in the life of our country? To reach out, not with walls, but with open arms. What is more needed now to celebrate our love of neighbor? What is more crucial for the healing of our earth and for our planet than reaching out, love of our neighbor? And what message is more authentically Christian than the message that we have embraced by Jesus, embodied in Christ, not just in his teachings and in his ministry, but in his life and in his death and resurrection, calling us to love our neighbor as ourselves. It was on that very last night with his disciples, where he took bread and shared the wine. After the meal, he took a basin of warm water and some towels and did the most radical thing. He began to wash disciples' feet. He invited the disciples that night, saying, come, have a home in me, and I'll have a home in you. Abide in me, and I'll abide in you. Abide in my love, is what Jesus said that night, and that's what he's saying to us now, my friends, here, listening on the radio and here in the sanctuary. Come and be my neighbor, is what Jesus said on that night. And that lesson, that radical, simple message. Remember, even as late as the 1960s throughout the country, African Americans and whites were swimming in separate swimming pools. And even here in Lawrence, they were separate pools and they were unequal. And black children swam in the dangerous Kaw River. And the pools were for whites only. It was then, there was a new show on TV, Mr. Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And on that new show, he invited an African American by the name of Mr. Francois Clemens. And he made him a police officer. And one of the famous shows of Mr. Rogers is Fred Rogers and Francois Clemens are together, sitting side by side with their feet in a basin of water. Fred Rogers invites Officer Clemens to take off his socks and shoes and join him as they put their feet into a warm basin of water. And then, after they bathed their feet, Mr. Rogers invited Officer Clemens to put his feet in his lap and he wiped off the feet with a towel. Such a simple message that children can understand, and yet how utterly radical then and still today. Who is my neighbor? Like another story, so simple and yet so radical. The story of Ruth, a simple story. What's more simple than a daughter-in-law saying to her mother-in-law that wherever you go, I'll go, and your people will be my people, and my God will be your God, and when you die, I'll die. What's more simple than that expression of love and loyalty? The Hebrew word is hesed, which means loyalty and love and connection. But friends, so radical. Scholars believe the book of Ruth was written and compiled sometime during the time after the exile, a time when the people of Israel were so insistent upon not allowing intermarriage, upon just Jews marrying Jews. During the time of Ezra and Nehemiah, and it's believed that this book crept into the Hebrew Scriptures as a radical critique of that exclusionary doctrine. Where you see is the story you remember of Naomi and Elimelech. And there was a famine in the land, and so they went to a foreign country. They went to Moab. There they had 2 sons, and they took their 2 sons with them, and the 2 sons took foreign wives, 2 Moabite women, Ruth and Orpah. And over the time, Ruth's husband died, and then her 2 sons died, and she was left with her 2 daughters-in-law, these 2 women that were foreigners, that were from another country. And of course, it would make the most sense in the world when that tragedy happened, that Orpah and Ruth would go back home to their own people and to their own kind, and that Ruth would go back to her people. But that's not the way the story goes. When it gets to Ruth, she says, no, I'm not leaving you. It doesn't matter who you are. I love you. I want to be with you forever. The radical message of love, which is that you can love whoever you want to love, is what God intends for us, not to have any barriers of gender or race or boundary. Such a simple story. And yet it's so utterly radical. Ruth asking Naomi, won't you be my neighbor? Can you abide in me as I abide in you? Now, friends, it's such a simple commandment, isn't it? I mean, in theory, we get it, we understand it. To love your neighbor as yourself. It's not complicated. We get it intellectually. The question is, can we put it into practice? That's the challenge. Can we live out this amazing commandment? Can we hear the invitation? Won't you be my neighbor? And there's all kinds of reasons that it's hard to put into practice, and part of it is that we get so busy in our lives and we get caught up, and also that we are scared of risk, and we're scared of getting hurt, and we're scared of putting ourselves out there and leaping outside of our comfort zone. That's all true, but even deeper true is the truth we must say is that sometimes we are all about ourselves, and we do get self-centered, and we just don't take the time to reach out and say, won't you be my neighbor? And yet, I tell you, my friends, how critical it is in this time in the life of our country. It is social isolation and social fragmentation that is tearing apart the fabric of our country. The tapestry is being torn apart. We need to find a way to reclaim each other as neighbors to each other. I want to suggest 3 simple thoughts just to share with you in terms of how do we do this that I have found helpful to me and maybe is helpful to you. And the first thought is the idea that it takes all of us being able and willing to be radically vulnerable. Radically vulnerable. The Sufi poet Rumi has a great phrase. You have to keep risking your heart. You have to keep risking your heart till it opens. Risking your heart till it opens. You have to be willing to be brave and let your heart be hurt. And that's when your heart begins to open up. I found myself, friends, in the last several weeks traveling. I went to Washington, D.C., I went to Connecticut, I went to Spokane, I went to northern Idaho. I was doing a lot of traveling alone, and I made a little note to myself. I said, you know what, I'm just going to be open to all the driver taking me to the airport in Baltimore, Maryland, shared with me about his family and growing up in Nepal. I met an amazing African-American woman on my Southwest flight who said that she went to Haiti on a service trip and was utterly transformed by that experience. And she said, I never felt closer to God after I'd been to Haiti and made new friends. Won't you be my neighbor? So much of it is, number one, about being willing to risk and being vulnerable. Number two is being able to realize that in every person there's a human being inside of them. Davey Rothbard was a Mr. Rogers fan since he was 3 years old. He loved Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. He never dreamed he'd have a chance to meet him one day. And so he sat down and met with Mr. Rogers and did an interview with Mr. Rogers. And he came to him, and Davey was saying, I live in a neighborhood in Chicago, and people just seem so afraid of each other. So afraid of each other. And he said the worst thing is people seem afraid to talk to each other. Mr. Rogers paused for about 15 seconds, and then he said these words. Perhaps we think that we won't find another human being inside that person. Perhaps we think there are some people in this world who I can't ever communicate with, and so I'll just give up before I try. How sad it is that we should ever give up on another creature who's just like us. Being able to realize, as Mr. Rogers taught us, that there's a human being inside everybody. And finally, the third thing that I think is so critical is to recognize that the neighbors that come into our lives are gifts that God plants gives us for a reason. They are truly gifts that come to us. And I want to take a moment now in my final year at Plymouth to say thank you to this congregation for the incredible number of neighbors that I have made and people that have come to love over my past 24 years of ministry. It's just astounding. And not just me, but all of you and all the connections that you have developed over that time. Last night, out at Stan and Lois Serena's at the barn dance, and we had a chance to hear from our young people that spent time in the Lakotas, in the Sioux Tribe Reservation, and adults that have been down in Oaxaca, Mexico, at an orphanage of indigenous people. And what is amazing to me is how many youth and adults, no matter who they are, say, I want to go back. When can I go back? Can I go back next year? And again, if you ask people why, the reason is the same. Because I've made friends. Because there's people there that know me, and I know them, and I want to go back. It's the power of being able to say, and hear that invitation, won't you be my neighbor? And so I just want to celebrate all the different ways in the life of this community. The Spirit has moved and provided us these incredible opportunities to reach out and get to know people and create neighbors out of people that we thought we'd never know in our life. Crossing boundaries of gender and race and income level. All those boundaries. Won't you be my neighbor? Yesterday I learned that in South India state of Kerala there's a terrible flood and 300 people at least have been killed and perished in the flood and hundreds of thousands have been displaced. And, you know, Kerala's a long ways away from here. It's on the other side of the country. And so I got on Facebook and I checked in with my friend Bishop Thomas Samuel, who was our host in Kerala. It was like 10 minutes later I heard back from Bishop Thomas Samuel on the other side of the world. And he said to me, thank you, Peter, for writing. We are in deep trouble. Torrential rain continues. The government has opened dams. All religious and other agencies are involved in rescue operations. People don't have food, clothing, drinking water, and medicines. Our diocese and all parishes are engaged in relief operations. Please remember us in your prayers. know. They're people that took us in and took care of us, and now their floods are just devastating the state of Caroline. And I thought, these are my neighbors. It's just amazing what God can do if we open ourselves to the gifts that God provides to us. If we're willing to be a little bit more brave, to be a little bit more vulnerable, if we're willing to see that no matter where somebody is on their journey, there's a human being inside them. And thirdly, to believe that God is in the midst of all this, helping us find and connect one another so that strangers become friends. Mr. Rogers, you are so right. It's an invitation. Won't you be my neighbor? An invitation to help somebody know they are loved and capable of loving. Love is everything, he said.